No belief. This remark was made in these very words by John Gribben, physics editor of New Science magazine, in a BBC TV debate with Malcolm Muggeridge, and it provoked incredulity on the part of most viewers. It seems to be a hangover of the medieval Catholic Church that causes most people, even the educated, to think that everybody must believe something or other, that if one is not a theist, one must be a dogmatic atheist, and if one does not think capitalism is perfect, one must believe fervently in socialism, and if one does not have blind faith in X, one must alternatively have blind faith in not X, or the reverse of X. My own opinion is that belief is the death of intelligence. As soon as one believes a doctrine of any sort or assumes certitude, one stops thinking about that aspect of existence. The more certitude one assumes, the less there is left to think about, and a person sure of everything would never have any need to think about anything, and might be considered clinically dead under current medical standards, where absence of brain activity is taken to mean that life has ended. My attitude is identical to that of Dr. Gribben and the majority of physicists today, and it is known in physics as the Copenhagen interpretation, because it was formulated in Copenhagen by Dr. Niels Bohr and his co-workers between 1926 and 1928. The Copenhagen interpretation is sometimes called model agnosticism, and says that any grid we use to organize our experience of the world is a model of the world, and should not be confused with the world itself. Albert Korvitsky tried to popularize this outside physics with the slogan, "The map is not the territory." Alan Watts, a talented Oriental philosopher, restated it more vividly as, "The menu is not the meal." Belief in the traditional sense, or certitude, or dogma, amounts to the grandiose delusion, "My current model contains the whole universe and will never need to be revised." In terms of the history of science and knowledge in general, this appears absurd and arrogant to me, and I am perpetually astonished that so many people still manage to live with such a medieval attitude. Briefly, the main thing I have learned in my life is that reality is always plural and mutable. Reality is a word in the English language which is A, a noun, and B, singular. Thinking in the English language, and in many Indo-European languages, therefore subliminally programs us to imagine reality as one entity, sort of like a huge New York skyscraper in which every part is just another room within the same building. This linguistic program is so pervasive that most people cannot think outside it at all, and when one tries to offer a different perspective, they imagine one is talking gibberish. The notion that reality is a noun, a solid thing like a brick or a baseball bat, derives from the biological fact that our nervous systems normally organize the dance of energy into such block-like things, probably as instant survival cues. Such things, however, dissolve back into energy dances, processes, or verbs when the nervous system is joined with certain drugs, or transmuted by spiritual exercises, or aided by scientific instruments. In both mysticism and physics, there is a general agreement that things are constructed by our nervous systems, and that realities, plural, are better described as systems or bundles of energy functions. So much for reality as a noun. The notion that reality is singular, like a sealed jar, does not jibe with current scientific findings, which, in this century, suggest that reality may better be considered as flowing and meandering, like a river, or interacting, like a dance, or evolving, like life itself. Most philosophers have known, at least since around 500 BC, that the world perceived by our senses is not the real world, but a construct we create, our own private work of art. Modern science, beginning with Galileo's demonstration that color is not in objects, but in the interaction of our senses with the object, understands that reality is created by our own brains. Effortless English members, welcome to a new lesson. This one is called No Belief. This is the vocabulary lesson for no belief. Let's get started. Our first vocabulary word is debate. A debate is like a discussion or an argument. A debate usually means people do not agree and they're talking about some topic, but they don't agree. Okay, in the same first sentence, we say the debate on BBC TV provoked incredulity on the part of most viewers. Incredulity. Woo, provoked. First of all, provoked, the verb. It provoked. Provoke means to cause, but it means to cause a reaction. So the idea of a reaction is important with this word, with this verb. You provoke somebody, it means you make them react. You cause them to react. And then the next word, incredulity, means surprise. So the meaning of this sentence is that the debate caused a surprise reaction, right? Provoked incredulity, caused surprise. Okay, moving along then. We see the word medieval, that the idea that people must believe something is a hangover of the medieval Catholic era. Medieval is the time period in Europe, especially Europe, from about 600 AD, the year 600, to about the year 1500. Now the times are a little, on each end the times can vary, but it's about that time period in Europe. At that time, the Catholic Church, the Christian Catholic Church, Catholic is the church in Rome, they had a lot of influence in Europe. Okay. Later on in this very long sentence, he says that to think that everybody must believe something or other, that if one is not a theist, one must be a dogmatic atheist. Okay. Whew, some tough vocabulary this. A theist is a religious person. A theist is someone who believes in God. They believe there is a God. And the opposite is atheist. Just add an A to the front. Atheist, someone who does not believe there is a God. Someone who does not believe in God, any God. A theist believes in a God, any God, and an atheist does not believe in a God. The word dogmatic there, dogmatic atheist. Dogmatic means very strongly believing, very, very strong belief in some rules or some idea. Dogmatic. And it's pretty negative, actually. It's quite negative. It usually has the idea of believing something or believing without reason, without logic. Dogmatic. All right, let's go. We got a lot of new vocabulary in this one. In the next paragraph, we see the word doctrine. You see that as soon as one believes a doctrine of any sort or assumes certitude, one stops thinking. Okay, a doctrine is a philosophy or a theory or a set, a group of beliefs. We call that a doctrine. So we might have religious doctrine. It means a group of religious ideas. That's a doctrine, or beliefs, really, not ideas. All right, and then in the next one it says, or assumes certitude. To assume means to believe. It means believe. And certitude is a good word. Certitude means to be totally sure, having no doubt, totally sure. If you say, I have certitude, it means I have no doubt. I am sure 100%. We also saw the word fervently in here. To believe fervently means to believe very strongly. Very, very strongly. If you fervently believe something, it means you believe totally with a lot of power. Okay. Next we see the word agnostic. Agnosticism or agnostic in that next paragraph. The Copenhagen interpretation is sometimes called model agnosticism. Model, in this case, model means theory. We're using model in a scientific way. Of course, model has other meanings, but in science, model means, basically it means theory. Agnosticism is the idea that nothing is sure, nothing is definite. We can never know 100%. Right? There is always doubt. And a person who believes that is called an agnostic. So let's say religion. An agnostic isn't sure if there is a God. Maybe there's a God, maybe there's not. Right? We can't prove it. We can't prove there's a God. We can't prove there's not a God. So an agnostic says, well, you just can't be sure. We're not sure. That's an agnostic. And that idea or belief is called agnosticism. Okay, then. Let's keep going down to the bottom of that paragraph. And we see the quote from Alan Watts, "The menu is not the meal." Right? So he's showing this idea that don't believe your beliefs. Don't believe your ideas. Because ideas are not the same as the real world. The menu is not the meal. The map is not the territory. Territory means land, right? So the map is not the same as the land. It's a picture to give you some idea, but it's not the real thing. All right. Last paragraph of page 1. Belief or certitude or dogma is grandiose delusion. Grandiose. Good word. Grandiose means, it's kind of this idea of too much theater, too much drama, too showy, maybe even too emotional, right? Grandiose. It's just too big, too much belief, too much emotion, too much power, something like that. That's grandiose, too big. And delusion means a wrong belief, something that you believe, but actually it's not true. That's a delusion. We call that a delusion. All right. Later down on the list here, we see the word absurd. Absurd means foolish or crazy. He's saying this idea is absurd. It's foolish. It's crazy. I don't believe it. All right. On to page 2 now. Looking at page 2, top, we have the first sentence. Briefly, the main thing I have learned in my life is that reality is always plural and mutable. Plural means more than one, right? Not only one, but many. If you know grammar, if you study grammar, you know that plural means many. Mutable means changeable, possible to change, able to change, easy to change. We call that mutable. It means changeable. So he's saying reality is mutable. It's possible to change reality. And there are more than one realities. There's not just one. Okay. And then he says reality is a word in English that is singular, and it's a noun. Singular means one, only one. So in English grammar, that word reality is singular. There's only one. And this causes problems. This makes us think in a wrong way. He says it gives us programs. It programs us subliminally. Programs here is a verb. To program means to train or to teach somebody. So our language, the English language, teaches us, trains us in a certain way. It trains us subliminally. That's an adverb. Subliminally means unconsciously, okay? Without you knowing. It means it's working subconsciously or unconsciously. Your normal brain, your normal thinking doesn't realize, doesn't know it's happening. It's happening, but you don't know it's happening. That's subliminally. The adjective is subliminal. Okay, keep going down. We see the word entity. English treats reality like an entity. Entity means a thing. Okay, entity basically means thing. It's pretty straightforward. So it treats it as an entity, treats it as a thing. And then a little bit farther down, we say this linguistic program, this language program, is so pervasive that most people can't think outside of it. Pervasive means everywhere, extensive, universal, happening everywhere, happening to everyone. That's what pervasive means. Everywhere you go, you find it. Pervasive, happening everywhere. All right. And then we see the sentence gibberish at the end of the sentence. If you talk about another idea, another perspective, another view, then people think you are talking gibberish. Gibberish means words with no meaning, nonsense, babble. So if it's like that is gibberish, right? It sounds but no meaning. Sounds without meaning. We say gibberish. We call that gibberish. All right, let's kind of move on down. We got the word transmuted a little bit farther down. Transmuted in the next paragraph. It says, when the nervous system is joined with certain drugs or transmuted by spiritual exercise, transmuted means changed. If something is transmuted, it means it is changed. And it usually has the idea changed to something else or changed a lot. So if your nervous system is transmuted, it is changed. Some experiences, some spiritual exercises, for example, meditation, can change your nervous system. It transmutes your nervous system. So that's transmute, means to change a lot. We see the word instruments in that same sentence. An instrument is a machine or a tool, something you use, right, for a purpose. An instrument. Okay, and then going down to the bottom, we see the word bundles. Bundles of energy. A bundle is a package or a group of things that are together. So it's a group or a package that are together, connected. We call that a bundle. A bundle. All right. The next paragraph, we see the phrase so much for. So much for reality as a noun. So much for means that you are finished talking about something. So it means enough of that, right? Enough talking about that. Enough of that. So much for reality means enough talking about reality. That's enough. So much for the Super Bowl, meaning, the Super Bowl's over. Enough talking about the Super Bowl. We don't need to talk about it anymore. So much for that. All right, so it's kind of a transition phrase that we use sometimes to change the topic. All right, and then we see another interesting phrase, an idiom that we use a lot. Does not jibe with, right? Belief does not jibe with science. Does not jibe with means agree with. Means they don't agree. They're not the same. Belief does not jibe with science. It means my belief and science, they don't agree, right? They're different. My belief is not scientific. We'd say it doesn't jibe with science. Doesn't agree with it. Not the same as. Okay, near the end of that same paragraph, we see the word meandering. Meandering like a river. Meandering, or to meander, it means to wander, to roam or to wander. It's the idea of moving around, but no destination, right? Not in a straight line. Moving side to sides, kind of slowly, maybe quickly, but not in a straight line, not moving in a straight line. We call that meandering. To meander is the verb, to meander. To move, but not in a straight line. To move, but not with a clear destination. All right, let me see. I think that's it. We got one more. Construct in the last paragraph. That the real world is a construct that we create. A construct means a creation or something we make, right? It comes from the word to construct, which is a verb. To construct means to make. If you use it as a noun, a construct, it's something that you make. Something that is made, something that is created. We call that a construct. In other words, not something that is natural all the time, not something that comes from the universe or God, but something we create ourselves. That is a construct. Okay, that is all for the vocabulary lesson, the vocabulary discussion. Please listen to this a few times. One time probably is not enough to remember this vocabulary. Listen to it, I think, a couple times or at least one time each day is best. Do this every day for 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Okay? And after you're ready, after you know this, go to the mini story lesson. Bye-bye. Okay, let's get started with the mini story lesson for the no belief article. Here we go. First, just listen to the story. Once there was a guy named Zed. Zed fervently believed he was better than everyone else. He knew with certitude that he was the smartest and best person in the world. He had a grandiose view of himself. This idea was unmutable. One day, Zed's friend Shannon meandered up to him and said to him, "Your ideas about yourself don't jibe with reality. You failed high school. You're ugly, and everybody hates you, except me." Shannon tried to provoke Zed with these words. She hoped to transmute his dogmatic belief into kindness and understanding. But Zed ignored her. He said, "I failed high school because I was smarter than the teachers and they hated me. And you are just jealous that I'm better than you and everyone loves me." Shannon was incredulous. She couldn't believe Zed was so foolish and stupid. "So much for reality," she said, and walked away. Okay, now let's listen again. I will ask questions to help you understand the new vocabulary better. You can use your pause button. After I ask a question, pause, because I ask the questions very quickly. So if you need to pause, go ahead, pause and answer the question in your head, or you can say it out loud if you want to. Okay, here we go. Once there was a guy named Zed. Zed fervently believed he was better than everyone else. Was this a weak belief that Zed had? Did he believe it just a little bit? No, of course not. He fervently believed he was better. Did he strongly believe he was better? Yes, he did. He fervently believed he was better. Did he fervently believe he was better? Or did he believe just a little bit, weakly? Did he weakly believe? Well, of course, he fervently believed he was better. He strongly believed he was better. How was his belief? Was it a weak belief? No, it was a fervent belief. He fervently believed he was better than everyone else. In fact, he knew with certitude that he was the smartest and the best man in the world. Did he have doubt about his belief? No, no doubt. He believed with total certitude. He was completely sure. Did he have any doubt at all? No, he believed with total certitude. He was completely sure. How did he believe? Did he believe just a little bit? No, he believed totally, completely, 100%. He was sure. He had total certitude that he was the smartest and the best person in the world. Was this a true view of himself? No, no, no. He had a grandiose view of himself. Was his view of himself too big? Too much? Yes, that's right. It was too much. It was a grandiose view of himself. Did he have a humble view of himself? Was he quiet and humble? No, he had a grandiose view of himself. A very big, dramatic view of himself. He had a grandiose view of himself. Did his friend have a grandiose view of herself? Well, I don't know, but no, I don't think so. No, she didn't. He, Zed, had a grandiose view of himself, But Shannon did not. Shannon was okay, she was normal. But she knew that Zed's view was grandiose. Was Zed's idea, his belief in himself, was it changeable? No. This idea was unmutable. Could not be changed. Could this idea be changed? No, it could not. Why not? Because it was unmutable. Was his idea mutable or unmutable? Well, it was unmutable, not changeable. Could Shannon change his idea? No, she couldn't, because his idea about himself was unmutable, could not be changed. Still, Shannon tried. One day, his friend Shannon meandered up to him and said, "Your ideas about yourself don't jibe with reality." Did she walk directly to him very fast? No, she meandered up to him. Did she run up to him? No, she did not. She meandered up to him. Who meandered up to Zed? Well, Shannon meandered up to Zed. Did she walk slowly, maybe not in a straight line, kind of slowly come up to him? Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what she did. She meandered up to him. She slowly kind of walked up to him, maybe stopping a little, going to the left, going to the right, and finally she comes to him. She meandered up to him. After she meandered up to him, what did she say? Well, she said, "Your ideas about yourself don't jibe with reality." Did his ideas about himself, jibe with reality? No, they did not. Did they agree with reality? No. His idea and reality were totally different. His ideas about himself and reality did not jibe, right? His ideas did not jibe with reality. Did Shannon's ideas, did her ideas jibe with reality? Yes, they did. Her ideas did jibe with reality. She said, "Oh, you failed high school. You're ugly, and everybody hates you." Unfortunately, this is true. Zed really was ugly, and he really did fail high school, and everyone really did hate him, except for Shannon. So Shannon's view did jibe with reality, but Zed's view of himself did not jibe with reality. So Shannon tried to provoke Zed with these words. Did she try to provoke him with kindness? No, she didn't try to provoke him with kindness. Did she try to provoke him with tough words, hard words? Yes, that's right. Shannon tried to provoke him with hard, tough words. Did she want to get a strong reaction? Did she want a strong reaction from Zed? Yes, that's right. She tried to provoke him. She wanted him to react. She wanted him to change his mind. Did she try to provoke her mother? No, of course not. Who did she try to provoke? She tried to provoke Zed. She tried to provoke Zed, her friend. Okay, and why? Why did she try to provoke Zed? Well, she hoped to transmute his dogmatic belief into kindness and understanding. She wanted him to become kind and understanding. Did she want to change his strong belief into kindness? That's right, yes, she did. She wanted to transmute his belief, "I'm the best," into kindness. Oh, I want to help people. Right? She wanted to transmute his strong belief into kindness. Did she want to transmute his appearance, how he looked? No, she didn't care about that. She didn't want to transmute his appearance. Did she want to transmute his intelligence, change his intelligence? No. She didn't care about his intelligence. She didn't want to change. She didn't want to transmute his intelligence into kindness. What did she want to transmute? She wanted to transmute his belief. What kind of belief was it? Was it a flexible belief? No, not a flexible belief. It was a dogmatic belief. Very strong, total faith in this belief. It is correct. It is always correct. I am right. everyone else is wrong. That's a dogmatic belief. Was his belief about himself dogmatic? Yes, it was. It was a dogmatic belief. Did he dogmatically believe he was the best? Yes, that's correct. He dogmatically believed he was the best. Did he have a dogmatic religious belief? No, he didn't have a dogmatic religious belief. He wasn't religious. Did he have a dogmatic scientific belief? No, he didn't care about science. He didn't have a dogmatic scientific belief. What kind of dogmatic belief did he have? Well, he had a dogmatic belief about himself. He thought he was the best. Did Zed listen to Shannon's words? Was he provoked? Did he change? Did he transmute this arrogance, this dogmatic belief? No, he did not. Zed ignored her. He said, I failed high school because I was smarter than the teachers and they hated me. And you, Shannon, you're just jealous that I'm better than you and everybody loves me. How did Shannon feel when she heard these words? Was she surprised? Yes, she was surprised. She was incredulous, very surprised. Was she angry? No, she was incredulous. She was surprised. Was she sad? No, she wasn't sad. She was incredulous. She was very surprised, shocked. Was she incredulous about his looks because he was ugly? No, she knew he was ugly. She was not incredulous about his looks. Was she incredulous about his clothes, how he dressed? No, she wasn't incredulous. She wasn't surprised about his clothes. What was she incredulous about? She was incredulous about his words, his reaction. He said, oh, I'm the best. Everyone's jealous, and you are jealous. She was stunned. She was shocked. She was incredulous. She couldn't believe Zed was so foolish and stupid. So she says, so much for reality, and then she walked away. Did she want to continue talking about reality? No, she was finished with that subject. She said, so much for reality. So much for, meaning I'm finished talking about this. The topic is over. So much for reality, she said, and she walked away. Did she say, so much for money? No, she did not. She said, so much for reality. Did she want to talk about books? Did she want to stop talking about books? No, she wanted to stop talking about reality. What did she want to stop talking about? Well, she said, so much for reality. Enough of talking about reality. So much for the topic of reality. I'm done with the topic of reality. And then she walked away. Okay, very good. Next, I'm going to read it again. This time, I'm going to pause. I'm going to repeat a few of the key phrases with the new words. And I'll pause a little bit. And please repeat the phrase out loud. Repeat it again. Copy my pronunciation. Copy my pauses. Copy when I go up and when I go down. Copy when I'm loud and when I'm soft. Copy my pronunciation exactly. If you need to pause with your iPod, use the pause button. It's okay. Here we go. Once there was a guy named Zed. Zed fervently believed he was better than everyone. Zed fervently believed he was better than everyone. Good. He knew with certitude that he was the best. He knew with certitude that he was the best. He had a grandiose view of himself. Good. He had a grandiose view of himself. This idea was unmutable. This idea was unmutable. One day, Zed's friend Shannon meandered up to him. One day, Zed's friend Shannon meandered up to him. She said, your ideas don't jibe with reality. She said, your ideas don't jibe with reality. You failed high school, you are ugly, and everyone hates you. Shannon tried to provoke Zed. Good. Shannon tried to provoke Zed. She hoped to transmute his dogmatic belief into kindness. She hoped to transmute his dogmatic belief into kindness. Good. But Zed ignored her. He said, I failed high school because I was smarter than the teachers and they hated me, and you're just jealous. Shannon was incredulous. Shannon was incredulous. She couldn't believe Zed was so foolish and stupid. So much for reality, she said. So much for reality, she said. Okay, welcome to the commentary for the No Belief article and lessons. I'm just going to chat about my ideas on this topic. First of all, this comes from Robert Anton Wilson. He's the guy who wrote the main article. And Robert Anton Wilson is a very interesting guy. Very, very interesting guy. He's kind of a part philosopher, part activist. He's a writer. Anyway, he's got a lot of interesting ideas. I like him. He likes to challenge the status quo. Status quo meaning what is normal, what everyone believes. He likes to challenge dogma. People have so many strong beliefs, and he likes to challenge those beliefs. So that's why I like him. I guess I feel the same way. And this little, I guess you would call it an essay, this little essay he wrote called No Belief, or I Have No Beliefs, is very interesting. And it basically discusses the danger of belief itself. And here what we're talking about is belief, meaning you think something is correct. And you have this 100% idea, this is definitely right, and this is definitely wrong. This is definitely true, this is definitely false. That's a belief, a strong belief. And I think he's really talking about strong belief. I mean, we all have ideas. We all have certain beliefs. We think we know something. But what Robert Anton Wilson is talking about is we must always remember that we can never be 100% sure. We might be 90% sure. We might be 40% sure, but never 100%. There is no definite reality where we can always say, we know for sure. Absolutely. And I like that, and I think he's absolutely correct. And his idea, I think, is appropriate, can be applied at a very large level, a very deep level, and also at a kind of very small practical level. At a big, deep level, what he's talking about in terms of reality are these questions of religion and philosophy and science. What is real? And what is life? That's a very deep question. And he talks about this idea that in the past, especially he refers to European thought, that this medieval period, people believed that the world was made of things, solid things. And of course, our normal reality, that's what we see. You pick up a pen, it seems like a nice hard thing. And then you have a desk, it's a hard, solid thing. And the idea is that all of reality is these little blocks, these little pieces of hard things. And that was a view in the Western world for many years, until science, especially physics, began to question that belief, question that idea. And physics, as physicists, began to explore the atom, and they went even farther, smaller and smaller and smaller. Physics began to realize, it's not true. The world, reality, things appear like they're hard and solid, but in fact, they are made of energy. They're made of moving processes. They're made of things that are not solid, things that change constantly, that are flowing, that are moving, electrons and magnetic energy and all these things, and that this idea of solid, separate things is something that our mind creates, that our senses and our mind, our senses meaning our eyes, our ears, our nose, and then of course our brains also, that we take all this information, all these waves, all this energy, all these patterns, and we make them with our minds into separate items. But in fact, nothing is actually separate. What's interesting, and what he talks about, is how this idea of science, of especially advanced science, agrees with mysticism. And mysticism is a word, it can have a lot of different feelings depending on who's using it. But mysticism basically means direct religion. Religion based on observation, religious based on meditation. So a religion that is not based on belief or some dogmatic rules or a book. So Buddhism, for example, is kind of a mystical religion. It's based on meditation and observation. Hinduism, to a large part, is at least parts of Hinduism. And it's interesting, so he's saying, and parts of Christianity too, as a matter of fact. So anyway, these mystical is the adjective, these mystical religions or religious sects, religious groups, in fact, agree, their understanding, their ideas, agree with the physicist ideas. And that is that, in fact, everything changes and nothing is solid and separate. Quite interesting. So that's at the big level, the big philosophical, religious, spiritual level, this idea of dogma, strong belief, right? And of course, we see the negative effects of dogma in politics in the world all the time. We have dogmatic Christians who believe the Bible is the Word of God and God wrote it, and it's 100% absolutely true, exactly true, and nothing else is. And therefore, it's okay to kill other people who don't believe it, or at least condemn them and attack them. So that's a dogmatic belief, right? The Bible is 100% right, everyone else is 100% wrong. And this dogma, these dogmatic beliefs, cause a lot of problems in the world and in personal relationships too. But at a smaller level, in our own lives, this idea is also important, I think. In my own life it is. That we have to remind ourselves all the time that our beliefs are not sure. We can never be totally sure. I have strong ideas, for example, about teaching English. I have very strong ideas. What I think is correct, what I think works, what I think is the best way to do it, and what I think is not. Now, these ideas, they're not random. I've read a lot of research. I have a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language, and I had to read lots and lots of research studies. I also have 10 years of experience, so I've seen a lot of students. I've examined how they learn, how they study, which students learn faster, which ones do better. So I have reasons for my beliefs. However, I have to always remember that I can't let this become a dogma. I can't let myself have total certitude. I have to remember that next week, next month, there might be new research, right? Someone might develop a new technique for teaching language, and maybe that technique will be better than the storytelling technique. Maybe it will be better than what I do in my class or what we do at Effortless English. And I need to be open. I need to remember that, because if someone creates a better method, well, I want to use that method, right? I don't want to be stuck with what I have now. That's the idea of always being a little bit unsure. It's okay to be unsure. In fact, it's very good to say, I'm not totally sure. So for myself, I try to remember that. I also try to remember it in my general life, my personal life, with my friends, with my other relationships, that I think I'm right. We all think we're right? We all pretty sure I'm right. I know I'm right. But in fact, maybe we're wrong. And we should always remember there is a chance that we're wrong. Or at least mistaken. All right. And I think this comes down to, finally, that both at a large level, in terms of religion, at our work, and in our personal lives, we always need to question. We always have to ask questions. We always have to be reflecting about our lives. Am I doing what is best? Is what I'm doing now still working? Is there new information I could be using? Has the situation changed? Maybe what I did used to be the best, used to be good, but maybe now the situation's different and I need to change. So we always have to keep questioning, never be sure. It's okay, I like this idea, to say, I have no strong beliefs. I'm always a little bit unsure. I never know 100%. I never have total certitude. That's how we grow. That's how we remain creative. That's how we keep getting better, keep innovating, keep succeeding with our lives, in all aspects of our lives. So anyway, it's a nice idea. I think Robert Anton Wilson says it much better than I do. Hopefully I can say it with a little bit simpler English. His article is a little bit difficult. So if you had problems with his article, if it seems difficult, just relax, no problem. Focus on the mini story for a while and focus on reading it, and then start listening to the audio article and just repeat it. The great thing about Effortless English, you don't need to feel stress. Anytime you have an article that is difficult for you, just relax. Just listen to it more. That's a simple solution. Sometimes you can understand an article completely after 1 week. Sometimes you might need to listen to it every day for 1 month. Sometimes you might need to, forget about it for a while and come back, try it again after 3 months, after 6 months. It's okay, no problem. Focus on the lessons that are easiest for you, that are the best for you. Sometimes you can do all of them. Sometimes maybe focus on the mini story. Use what works for you. This is your club, so use what works for you. Alrighty, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.